We get deep into the guts of the stranger side of cinema. Just letting you know with this little bit at the start that we now have a Patreon. Sub up to that and you can get all these episodes early and ad-free, so you won't even see this bit at the start. You get them a few days before the main episodes drop out. We've got some great guests coming up. We've got some studio episodes. We've got some Zoom episodes with some fantastic rappers talking about the films they love and the films that influenced them. We got a lot going on there. Plus, you get some bonus content like film reviews, all that kind of thing. I don't need to explain this to you. You know what a Patreon is. But yeah, it's patreon.com/Kinell Sinister Cinema. So check that out. Peace. Yes, people. What's good? I'm Kinell, and this is Sinister Cinema, where we get deep into the guts of the stranger side of cinema. Kinell Sinister Cinema is brought to you by Forgotten Sons Apparel. Check them out at forgottensonsapparel.co.uk. Forgotten Sons Apparel is a York-based streetwear brand drawing inspiration from alternative culture, tattoos, film, classic TV and cartoons from our childhood. In our own words, if you like our stuff half as much as we do, then we like it twice as much as you. I'm a big fan of this brand and I love the guys who make it. They've supported me for years, way before I was podcasting. They supported me in my battle rap career. You might have seen me rocking some of their garms on Don't Flop and other leagues. I love Forgotten Sons Apparel and I'm urging you all to check them out at forgottensonsapparel.co.uk. Right, now on with the show. I'm here. Looks like I'm going to be editing this episode for a change. Ball like. Yep, it is the KSC once again, Kinell Sinister Cinema, and I am Kinell. Apologies for the vest, the scrawny arms, and the hairy chest, but it is very hot in here. No Nelly. But yeah, it's been one of them. The heat wave has been killing me. I can't think properly in these times, but we're cracking on with it. So I'm going to get straight into it. Obviously, you know all these bits I say at the start. You can watch a couple of my battles now on the Don't Flop Patreon. All them. Check the previous episodes. You know what it is. But yeah, this is an episode where I've got a fantastic guest for you and a fantastic subject. One that I find really interesting. So I'm just going to get straight in with the intro. Welcome to the KSC. Jaz Kahina, how are you?
Hey, I'm good, thanks. Happy to be here.
I'm flipping delighted to have you here. I'm a big fan of these posters in your background. You've got,
I thought I ain't got them up yet. So what we got? We got Existence, Twin Town, Wayne's World, and Falling Down. And I've got a quad. You'll know what a quad size movie poster is, won't you? I've got a quad size movie poster of The Young Poisonous Handbook, but it's quite hard to find a frame that size. It's not that hard. I ain't got a frame yet, basically, but it's massive. I don't even know.
But I think there's like a bit of a conspiracy with people who do framing, because putting a poster in a frame isn't that hard. But there's framing businesses, so I reckon they I reckon there's efforts made to keep the really big frames private.
You're gonna have to pay for this. Yeah, I can't remember how much I paid for the poster. No, I'm not gonna be able to remember. Probably 30 or something like that. But yeah, I don't really want to spend loads on a frame. But none of these are all my frames are just cheapo frames.
That's it. That's it. I think if you're looking for a quad frame, there's someone that they know that you take your decoration seriously.
Yeah, it's true. I've got to rip one off a cinema wall.
Yeah. Well, maybe we can sort that out later. I'm off for some street crime after this. Always a fan. But before we get into it, do you want to let people know if you've got any things that people need to check out?
At the moment, I've got quite a lot of stuff, but I'm working on a project at the moment that I'm really excited about. So that'll be something to check relatively soon. But I've got a bit of a back catalogue. In the context of what we're talking about today, I've got a couple of music videos that are based on films I've got a music video that's based on Videodrome, and a music video that's based on Fatal Attraction, and they're quite interesting. I think like there is a few people that know me for my kind of B-movie style music videos, so I'm quite into my visuals. It's like a kind of almost like a 50-50 thing for me, the music and the visuals. So check out my YouTube, basically.
As a lyricist, you've got a good sense of imagery about the way you put things together and all, like, I feel like.
Yeah. I don't do much storytelling, funnily enough.
Yeah.
But that's not necessarily the same as imagery, is it? There's probably quite a few references in there as well.
Yeah, you have the kind of like lyrical structure that like makes people paint images in their own heads, like. Which is like a whole different thing to just describing something in a specific way.
Like, yeah, it's a bit like turn of phrase or yeah, I know what you mean.
The subject today we're going to discuss is what the Germans refer to as Kindertrauma, which is a cool fuck word.
Kindertrauma.
Yeah, and it was inspired by I saw you tweeting the other week images from probably the film that's like probably terrifies me the most to this day, Return to Oz.
Yeah, I was so excited. There's a movie podcast I listen to. It's called Shout the Movies, and when they introduced, they did Return to Oz. I was like, oh, sick! Like I used to watch this film on repeat when I was younger. And I was really surprised to hear them say, like a couple of them were like, nah, I've never heard of it. Not seen it, not heard of it. So I didn't realize that it was such a kind of weird underground flop in the States anyway, because to me, it was like a massive film. I don't even remember The Wizard of Oz. Like, I don't even know what happens in that film, but Return to Oz, like had me captivated, man. Like it's brilliant, isn't it? The characters are they're really well done for an 80s film. It's an 80s film, is it? Yeah.
My theory on like why Return to Oz isn't more well known is that it just traumatized so many kids in the 80s, and those kids like have their own kids now, and they don't want their kids finding out about Return to Oz. So they won't experience the same trauma.
Yeah, I think unfortunately for my kids, me and their dad both don't mind re-traumatization through film. So that generational curse isn't going to stop anytime soon.
Excellent.
But also, I found it a really charming film. Like I remember feeling it's not really like a horror film. There's something very charming about it. I was saying how like a lot of like Dorothy's so innocent, isn't she? She's so like, and she's also quite positive. Like she's quite optimistic. And then like characters like TikTok. I remember I absolutely loved TikTok. Like he was so charming.
Because I mean, like on a real level, like Dorothy in that, it's like. It's such a dark way of presenting things. Like literally, the film opens up with her in like some fucking 1950s asylum being given electroshock therapy.
Yeah, like I realized that there's a theme of films that really I found like I got a bit obsessed with, and I realized like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest was another one, and but in both the electric shock therapy really disturbed me. Like I was really fixated on like whatever that is. That seems like one of the most horrific things you could do to somebody is zap their brain. So I've always had a fear of mental institutions when I was younger. I did like more than like anything else. I didn't want to be in a mental institution.
I get what you mean there. Like flipping, like, you know, I flipping like didn't seek help for sort of my mental issues for a long time, and like as much as I say it's because I had this or this going on, really it's because I was thinking they're going to give me electroshock therapy.
Yeah, and that the fear of not being taken seriously as a human and like having no control because you're not considered to be like somebody whose mind is valid. There's nothing scarier than that, at least as a prisoner or a patient in another way. Like, you're still a person. Well, that's arguable, really. But yeah, there's just something about being considered crazy, and then whatever you do is just more proof of your craziness, depending on what you say or do. Yeah. But actually, my grandfather was in a mental institution for a while, which is where my grandmother met him. And I didn't know that at the time. But I think he may have had electric shock therapy. It's quite common back in the day, was it?
Yeah. I think it was like it was one of the things that carried over before like any kind of like real mental health therapy. Because like there was a point when like to be a doctor, to be a professor, like the qualifications you needed were a monocle and a top hat. And like there's a lot of like early mental health. It just like if you look into it, it turns out it was just one guy who was probably seriously disturbed but very rich. And he wore a tuxedo and goes, "Oh, this is the reason."
And the human experimentation as well.
Yeah.
And, you know, obviously disabled people, or depending on the disability, were considered, you know, kind of fair game to experiment on horrible, terrifying stuff. So, yeah, that's probably part of what made me, like, really latch onto that. And then a few scenes in that film are quite terrifying.
Yeah.
The heads in the flipping glass cages or whatever they are.
Yeah.
And that was really creepy. That really creeped me out. And they start chanting, "Dorothy Gale, Dorothy Gale."
Yeah, the chant. There's a lot of like quite powerful imagery in it. The one everyone talks about is the Wheelers, which is probably like the most memorable thing. But I mean, things like the Mombi bit and
I mean, they also don't move how humans should move. There was something extra creepy about them. The fact that they kind of glided around and like abnormally long limbs, wasn't it? Because they were on stilts as well.
Yeah, like sort of stilts on. I think that like I put like I mentioned that I was going to be talking about things that freaked us out as kids on what's it called? I put something about it on Facebook, and so many people replied to me with all kinds of different stuff. Like, and the thread is nightmare fuel. I'll go through a few in a bit. Like,
okay,
we've got. Hang on, flip. I'll scroll through it briefly, but it's really made me think that like a lot of it seems to come from like the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
And I think what it is because like the children's stuff and the family entertainment in the 80s and 90s were sort of pre-CGI. So the things we're seeing are like stop motion, which is like quite creepy in its own way. Or like what you call it? It is like things like with Labyrinth, Dark Crystal, and Return to Oz. Yeah, it's like physical effects and it's puppetry, and there's something about the fact that it's real and there's something you can tell about the Wheelers is that they're existing in the same physical space as Dorothy.
Yeah, they're clearly real, whatever it is. They're not like monsters. They're humanoid, whatever it is.
Yeah,
which makes it creepier.
Yeah, it's that reality, that connection to them. Because like when something's like a computer generated image, your brain separates it from reality. It's like watching a cartoon. But like when it's like, you know, this little girl played by the legendary Firuza Balk. Now there's a name I could get wrong pronouncing. Like you know that everything in that scene is there with her.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that does make a difference. Also, you know, the fact it's sets, isn't it? They built sets. It's not green screen, so that limits it, but it also gives it a really kind of like you feel like you're there vibe, and almost a bit trapping because it's quite post-apocalyptic, isn't it? These kind of small but realistic sets.
Yeah. So did you say you weren't that familiar with The Wizard of Oz?
No, not really. I mean, obviously it's really famous, but I don't remember the film very well. I mean, my film stuff was quite limited to what my mum would tape for me off the TV. So we rarely had VHSs that were like the official VHSs from the shop, but we hired them from the video shop. And my mum would tape whatever, you know, if she saw a film was on that she thought would be good, she would tape it for me. So like the Phantom Toll Booth was one of them, which isn't like scary, but it's really weird. And that really grabbed me. I don't know if you know that one. It's an animated one.
I'm not familiar with the Phantom Toll Booth. What's that about? I mean, I presume it's
really wacky. This boy, a real boy, goes into an animated world. And it's all about numbers and letters and rhyme and reason. And he just goes through all these different zones. It's kind of like a fable type thing in really weird characters and songs. But I saw it recently and it just looks so awful. It's like scribbly animation. But to my young mind, I was in that world. So it's that kind of, I think as well, I guess all kids have a good imagination, but like I would get really immersed in the things I watched. It would feel like I lived in that world. Yeah. I'd watch things like over and over again for like every day for a period of time. It wouldn't just be now and again. I'd just watch it. Like I'd just live in it. Which I think affects me more as well.
Sort of invested in that world. Like that was something I used to do and all. Did you ever like, you know, like you'd be outside like playing or whatever, and just like in your imagination just be drifting off into a world of like something that you've been engaging with?
Yeah, definitely. And I used to role play the things as well. I remember role playing being John McClane in Die Hard. Yeah. So I'd role play some of the scenes in that I really wanted to be these people. And like when he's crawling through the glass on his elbows and he's got no shoes on and all that, I'd be doing that across the room. And I also used to role play that bit in Terminator when he's looking in the mirror and like when he opens his forearm up and he starts to. I used to role play that as well. I thought that was so cool when you see the arm. Terminator was another favorite. Terminator 2. Maybe I think I was more taken by Terminator 2 because of the when you know when he becomes like,
Edward Furlong
human. Yeah, I cried at the end of that as a kid.
Oh yeah, the thumb up. It's an emotional thing, isn't it? Like that's the thing because like a Terminator 2 was like a 15, and like like the Terminator was an 18, but like the certificates didn't really matter like that if you had access.
No, and also I was allowed to watch any violence. I was not allowed to watch any sexual content. So if there was any kissing, even my mum would stand up in front of the screen. And I wasn't allowed to watch like Neighbours and Home and Away, but I was allowed to watch Terminator. Which again is more mental institution. You know, I remember like she needed to get out of there. She's not crazy. What's she doing? And like how terrifying it is that she's in there and she's not mad and she can't get out. Again, that's another film. It's like, somebody's trapped in a institution.
Yeah, it's a theme that runs through these because the thing with like most of these, like, well, I mean, maybe not One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, but the theme is like it's like the person who was in the mental institution is right about what's happening.
Yeah,
and it's not that they're what should we call it delusional. It's that people aren't accepting what they're saying as the truth.
Yeah. 12 Monkeys as well, yeah. Another one, brilliant film. It's true. But also another scary, like a horrible part of that is that the way that, like, at least if you're in a prison and they're really nasty, you just know they hate you or they don't respect you. But the thought of somebody kind of professionally saying, no, I know better, take the drugs, in that kind of, and like receiving that control in a kind of horribly passive aggressive or like almost like we're doing the right thing way. You know, you'd rather someone admit.
Yeah, It's not the flipping big doctor who runs the place that's like forcing the pills down your neck. It's someone who genuinely believes that they're doing the right thing by force feeding you the pills.
Which is somehow scarier. I don't know.
Yeah. We got a bad route here, but I'm gonna hit you with like some of the examples from this thread of things that used to freak people out at kids. Yeah, I think it's a bit like past like my generation at least, but Georgie Roots mentioned grizzly tales for gruesome kids.
Rings a bell, but I don't know.
I'm not familiar with that. It looks like
what is that? Is that before or after your time? Our time.
It's after.
Yeah, after. It doesn't sound old. It sounds
that looks like a creepy CBBC like stop motion thing by the look of it. Like
right, okay.
Yeah, my boy Tim Hood mentions Dolls, the film Dolls.
Doesn't ring a bell.
Hang on, I think I might have a copy of that here.
Okay.
It was it's this one. Do you remember this VHS cover?
No, I don't. You know.
Yeah.
What year is that?
I think it would have been about like late 80s. It was like like from Charles Band who like made all the Puppet Master films and all that. There was this phase where they were kind of like trying to make sort of like horror films. Like it was sort of post Gremlins when they were trying to make horror films, but they were like kind of like structured like family films, but had like things in them like, and that there was a lot that came off the back of Gremlins.
I actually watched the YouTube video all about that. I can't remember what it is now. Someone pointed me in the direction of it, and it is about like how Gremlins like totally influenced all the like the leprechaun and all the little kind of creature things, basically.
Yeah, Ghoulies.
I don't remember that one. I've not heard of it.
Yeah, Ghoulies is the one where there was like a little green thing coming out of a toilet on the cover.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You'd 100% remember the cover. Other things people reference: Wurzel Gummidge.
Okay.
Yeah. What should we call it?
I don't think he would freak me out.
Yeah. The Last Unicorn. Ridley Scott's Legend.
I don't know. Do
you remember Legend with Tom Cruise?
No, not really.
That was a what should we call it? The Grope from the Moomins and what should we call it? Christopher Lloyd in Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
I never got into that film, you know. I know it's a bit blasphemous, but I don't remember ever really getting into it.
There's a bit of darkness in that film if you like watching it as an adult.
Yeah.
Like, it's got the sequence where what should we call it? They're like famously they sorted the rights so you could have Daffy Duck and Donald Duck in the same shot at the same time, and they're having a piano duel.
Yeah.
And if you listen to the flipping, like Donald Duck calls Daffy Duck the M word.
No way.
Yeah.
Gee.
It's like,
well, to be honest, those old cartoons are pretty fucked up anyway.
Like flipping like.
Well, they're very, very violent, and like alcoholism and domestic violence. It was all in the old cartoons.
Yeah, flipping stuff like
maniacs.
Yeah, I mean, like Popeye. It's just like one dude whose whole face is fucked up, and like a big dude Bluto, just flipping attacking each other every single flipping episode. Over what should we call it, like one woman, and whoever won the fight, that's who she had to be with.
Yeah.
That's dark from a moral standpoint, isn't it? Like she had no agency in it. It has to be whoever wins that fight that they're having.
Yeah. And there was just loads of like drunkenness and kids getting spanked by their mums, which was kind of horrible, even though it wasn't like really violent. There's something very nice about it at the same time. Yeah,
things like Pinocchio and that, innit?
Oh, do you know what? That disturbed me a bit. That's the scene where he turns and he's like, they're playing pool and he's like, And Pinocchio's gone green. He's like pulling a whitey off the cigar. And then what's his name? I don't know what the kid's name is. And he starts turning. He's like, and then he's like, oh, and he like starts proper freaking out. He's turning into a donkey. It's horrible.
Yeah, that is like quite a nightmarish scene where they think, oh, we're buzzing. All those like fucking 9-year-old kids. We're all getting straight on the whiskey and the cigars.
Yeah. And then also even the coercion that happens when Pinocchio leaves his house, the fox and his like brethren or whatever, and they like coerce him and like using his naivety to trick him. It's quite horrible, really. And then he gets taken to the circus. It's a pretty dark film. As like, is Dumbo, jeez.
Yeah, like Dumbo, like the crows are a mad racist thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes. Not that I would have noticed as a kid, to be honest, but yeah, obviously.
Yeah, I didn't understand those things, but as soon as someone when someone like pointed out to me as an adult, like they're doing like very racist stereotypes that you didn't understand as a kid because they were already too racist to be shown.
And the kids from the UK as well.
Yeah.
Because they were like racist tropes that were like from America. Weren't they?
Like we probably weren't familiar with like all that Al Jolson shit because like, but so like we didn't know where it was coming from, and but I wonder like flipping how many people have like ended up on a weird path because of Disney. Because flipping like you know, we have all these furries. I'm not king shaming. I'm not saying that furries are bad. Like, you know, go and do your thing. But they all claim that all furries claim that fucking ground zero for them, like fucking day one, was fucking Robin Hood, Disney's Robin Hood with the
no way. Disney's Robin Hood is one of my favorite films of all time.
Yeah. Do you want to fuck the fox, Robin Hood?
Did I? What?
Did you want to fuck the fox, Robin Hood?
I don't think I knew what that meant, but he's definitely like my first crush, probably.
Yeah.
But that I was too young to think in those terms.
Yeah, I think like some people just go down the route of you're like, you know, you're sort of like you have a bit of a crush and then you just discover other things in life. And some people go, nah, it's not as good as Robin Hood.
Well, the thing is, Robin Hood is just a typical lovable rogue. He's just like the boys in primary school I fancied. They're, you know, they're funny, they're cheeky, they're doing the wrong thing a bit, but they're charming. Like welcome to all the guys ever that anyone likes.
It's the attitude and the swagger you were attracted to, whereas some people think I'm going to fuck a fox, and like
that's pretty weird.
Like fucking. Like a lot of fucking like people I know who were like big foot guys, people who were like big fucking all of
big
them
foot guys.
Yeah, all the fucking foot guys say that day one is the Little Mermaid.
What? She didn't even have feet.
Yeah, she did though. Like she got them halfway through, and there's a big thing
I don't know if I don't think I've seen that film. You know, the Disney's Little Mermaid. Yeah. There's quite a few Disney films I've failed to. I don't remember Bambi at all. Don't remember The Little Mermaid. I just had what I had, and that's what I saw. Like Dumbo, Alice in Wonderland, sick film. Robin Hood. You know,
Alice in Wonderland might be why I spent ages having a drug problem, because that was what fucking I got into on that. It's like, whoa, you eat a mushroom and mad shit happens.
Yeah, I liked films like that where also they go through little zones. Like, I like it's a bit like levels, I suppose, in a computer game. You go through the flowery bit, and you sing with the flowers, and there's a mad tea-boy, and there's a funny caterpillar. Yeah, I like things where you're like waiting for the next zone.
Yeah. So that's it. Like just walking a corner and having a huge vibe shift. Like,
yeah. Oh man.
Yeah. Other things on this list. Someone says
this list is not that freaky, is it? Really? Come on, guys.
I think it's interesting because like fucking everyone's freaked out by different things.
Yeah. Yeah, and that, like, because there's some things that visually freak you out, like the wheelies, and then there's unseen things like paranormal stuff. Used to really, really scare me. But it's your own imagination in those cases.
That's it. Like the biggest one for me is like the reason why I've got a podcast called Kinell Sinister Cinema probably to this day was Ghost Watch.
I don't think I've even seen Ghost Watch. Terrible. I might have it in my DVD. I've got like 800 DVDs over there. Yeah. But I don't know if I've seen that one.
Yeah.
I remember seeing Poltergeist scared me, I think.
Yeah. Poltergeist was a funny one because it was like the guy who did the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but produced by Steven Spielberg. So it was like a guy that knew how to make fucking Texas Chainsaw Massacre films, but it also had that kind of like a Happy E.T. family sort of start off edge like to it.
Yeah. I don't actually remember it that well. It was like one of the biggest movies of the time, though. I feel like one of the biggest, the one that people would talk about at school, I guess.
Yeah,
I think.
That's what, because it like starts off like, quite heartwarming family, like basically like an ET film. I think like that was one of the ones that like even the kids who were a bit more supervised, their parents would watch the start of it and go, "Oh, they'll be okay watching this."
Yeah. The other thing that like my mum used to let me watch, like I said before, violence, and like I saw Midnight Express as well when I was quite young, and I didn't, not Midnight Express. Yeah, Midnight Express. Is there a torture scene in that? Is it a bit tortury?
Yeah, Turkish prison in there.
Yeah. And I didn't like that. I didn't like torture scenes. They used to
stuff when someone's got like no ability to get away.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, institutions, basically. Horrible institutions. And like, even in Return to Oz, when they get trapped in the figurines.
Yeah,
like that made me feel a bit panicky, and then it reminded me of that in Black Mirror. There's that happens in Black Mirror, doesn't it? Like in more than one episode, definitely people are trapped in like either an object or I don't know, time
or a point in time.
Yeah. It's like that trapped feeling. So it's like
that's it. Like fucking like just being physically trapped, or like not being able to convince the person that you need to get out the fucking way for you to leave, and trapped in that.
Yeah. It's a lack of control, I guess.
Yeah.
Scared of losing control is definitely a thing. Probably a thing for most people, people want control of themselves. But yeah. But even that Jessica kid that fell down the well, do you remember that one? And they made a film about it.
Yeah.
That disturbed me. That was just like a documentary film. But I just remember thinking, oh my God, imagine being trapped like down a well.
You know what? When they did the American remake of The Ring, they should have just made it Jessica.
Yeah.
I suppose it would have given the twist away a bit early. Like,
yeah.
The film was already out. Yeah.
Do you remember Round the Twist? That was a great series.
Yeah, Round the Twist is one that's been mentioned here. Like,
oh really? I don't think it freaked me out, but I liked it because it was quite odd, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was sort of spooky and offbeat, like, and sort of like we had access to these things. Like, I think like kids' entertainment now, I'm not as familiar with it, but like now there's the tendency to not go to these weird places. But when you were a kid, you could get some like weird content.
Yeah,
like, fucking
for sure.
It's the second episode, isn't it? The fucking pigeon shit episode, the seagull shit episode.
Yeah, I'll never forget that. And there's one with a dead fox and a lemon tree or something. I remember that. I was obsessed by death as well as a kid. Yeah.
Someone's mentioned one that got me like very early on. Watership Down.
Oh yeah, I'd like to see that maybe once, but yeah, that kind of thing would. Have you seen Plague Dogs?
I haven't. No.
It's it's a British animated, and two dogs that escape from a I was going to say vasectomy lab. what they call vivisection lab.
Yeah.
And they escape cross country anyway. But it's another harrowing animated British film from maybe the same era. Lesser known.
Oh, someone like whoever's done it's put the exact shot up in there. The terrifying, like the rabbit with myxomatosis.
Oh yeah, and the thing,
the fact that he was a rabbit that had just lost his shit because of this disease, and
animals getting hurt really upset me in any program as well. I'm trying to remember one that used to really it really upset me every time. I know it's in the back of my head and I can't remember what film it is, but an animal gets hurt and I know it wasn't real, but I just couldn't hack it. I don't remember what it was. What else are the masses saying?
I don't know, but that has reminded me of one that I saw like very young that fucking got me. It was Cujo.
Oh, I haven't seen Cujo. My kids have seen it. Their dad is a massive horror fan. I mean, he should be on this as well, to be honest. But yeah, he's proper into his horror. Not always pleased with what gets shown to the kids, but
would you say you've got a similar policy to what you've grown up with? Because like that's what I think. I think kids could kind of get on with like I think kids are better off with like massive violence than like a little bit of violence.
Yeah, what I find worse is it's psychological. The psychological aspect. So like when it's really horrible types of bullying, or like racism. Or sexism, or like things that they're not quite ready to process yet. But like depending on like how the violence happens, just people getting shot from a distance. I mean,
or something that's just like so ridiculous, like that it's not something that they're going to start connecting with.
Yeah, or it's old and they're just laughing at the effects. Although they watched The Gate, not
The Gate.
And the effects in that are incredible. So incredible. I was like, I looked up how they did the special effects of the little men. Yeah. And it's like real men. And they did some mad perspective. I can't remember what the explanation was, but I was
forced perspective, I think they call it.
Yeah, but it looks so good. They're like climbing up a person. It's mental how good it looks like for its time. But yeah, sometimes it's just like, well, that doesn't look real, does it?
Yeah.
But then sometimes it's just swearing, like Gremlins. Gremlins, right? I mean, my oldest kid is about to be 15. My youngest is 10, but it depends on their disposition too. My youngest is really sensitive, so I wouldn't show her some, things because she doesn't like it. And some kids are just like, whatever.
Are you what you call it, original Gremlins fan or a Gremlins 2 fan?
I don't know if I could discern between the two. I remember enjoying it, but to me, they're just like one film. Tremors, I really liked.
I fucking love the Tremors films. That was probably like one.
My kid really likes Tremors too.
Yeah,
as in not Tremors 2, but Tremors as well. She's seen it.
They've done like 8 films now.
It's crazy, isn't it? But the worms look really, the worms like pretty good. I mean, they're not bad.
And like you don't see a lot of them. Like normally it's like shit coming through the desert, and you're like fucking, you don't know what it is because they don't know what it is.
But it's terrifying.
Yeah,
it's like best. Oh yeah, that is scary, Tremors. But
it goes back to like what you say to like what we said right at the very start about how like you don't like do storytelling lyricism, but your lyrics create images.
Yeah,
there's a lot of that in like 80s films and 90s films and that, because they couldn't like show everything. They had to come up with some way around it, and like they do things that like Beetlejuice,
yeah. Oh my god, Beetlejuice.
Do you know, like, if you watch that film, Beetlejuice gets 8 minutes of screen time in the whole film.
Yeah, that's not much, is it? Is that correct? 8 minutes. That seems really low.
8 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah, it's only
I'm
8
quite
minutes
surprised.
he's on screen. Like, it's like flipping over an hour and a half. Like, less than 10% of the film he's not in it. But it's
Yeah,
just about like, oh, you can't say his name.
yeah. That the scene where they bring when they come back from when they get married and they start rising in their suits, coming back from the dead, that did freak me out a little bit when I was younger. I didn't like it.
Yeah.
Like, it made me uncomfortable. Didn't have nightmares or anything. But that's the only
Yeah,
bit that
that's
made
it.
me.
With her mouth sewn up and like fucking like the doing control again, isn't it?
Yeah, that's quite creepy. But it was more the deaf people rising that creeped me out. But such a good film. And I just love the like flipping mad like sets on that, and like the fashion and like the costume and everything about it.
Yeah, for like Tim Burton was doing bits for ages. Like
he was.
Yeah,
Edward
I definitely
Scissorhands
reckon.
is another favorite.
Yeah,
Not really creepy or scary, really. But I was saying to you before on in our conversation about coming on here that like I always like the subhuman things. Like in Edward Scissorhands, he's not quite human. Anything like that would very much pull at my heartstrings. Terminator.
Yeah, it's genuinely heartbreaking. Like in places like Edward Scissorhands, and I think a lot of it's got to do with like fucking. It is that the fact that they're in there together. It's not as like you're sort of looking at things through a different lens because generating any image through like AI and CGI wasn't possible at the time. So so the fact that it was created brought more of a realism to it.
Yeah, it's true. Yes, and I remember Daryl as well was one of my faves, and that kind of threat to like again with Terminator, where it's like, is this a human or not? Can we just destroy it? It's a machine, but it's a machine that's sentient. That those used to make me like panic, like no.
Yeah, it was like the dark side of the Short Circuit films.
Yeah, exactly.
Like flipping like Short Circuit 2, I remember watching that. And the bit when they're fucking beating him up and breaking him and like his fucking like his shit stopping working.
I didn't even like that in Chappie as an adult. I didn't like that. They do that to Chappie as well. You know Chappie?
Yeah. Neil Blomkamp, the South African guy, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I know it's South African. I wouldn't remember his name, so I'm just nodding. But yeah.
He's been like threatening to do an Alien movie for a long time.
Okay.
Yeah.
What? Not an Alien franchise. Just a film about aliens.
Well, but this is it. Like, there's a lot going on with that. Like, because like I think he was going to do a new one because like Ridley Scott had it back and like the Alien films, fucking hell, I loved.
And
like that's the franchise that fell off so bad.
Yeah, I think it's funny because a lot of films, I think if you see them after a certain time of your life, they don't quite make it into your head as quite as well as if you see them when you're younger.
Chest burster scene from the original Alien. It's like I remember like being a very little kid, and there was this lad that had moved in a few streets away that I was like mates with from school, and we went round his house. It was the first time that I'd never known anyone have a TV in their room, and he had a video player and all.
Yeah,
and he had one video, and it was like Alien, and it was just like, look, I can watch this whenever I want, and he just had it like ready to go on like the first scene.
It is a sick film. I like films like that as well. You know, cat and mouse or whatever you call it.
Yeah. Flipping, he's been on the podcast a few times. Me Rory, and like he told me something about Harry Dean Stanton. Like on the last episode he was on, I can't remember what. I think we.
You're gonna have to tell me who that is. Harry Dean Stanton.
Yeah, he's if you looked at a picture of him, you know him instantly. But he was in a few 80s things, and he was like one of the guys in Alien.
Have a look.
And,
okay, yeah.
Yeah, and flipping it's something that's apparently like common knowledge amongst like actors who've like worked with him, but like not so much online. That fucking his thing was like fucking every day before he turned up to set, acid, and like fucking
seriously,
yeah, fucking like most of his work through like the 70s and 80s, he turned up on acid, and like Rory was telling me this, and I was like, hang on, so when they did the chest burster scene, because the whole thing with the chest burster scene in Aliens is that Ridley Scott said like something's going to happen, but he didn't tell anyone what it was.
Oh yeah, I heard that. I've listened to podcasts about Alien, but to remember podcasts.
I heard that like before, but like when you realise that one of those guys is on acid,
yeah, damn, that must have been. Yeah. I mean, I've never taken it, so but I mean that's exactly why I wouldn't take it. I'm also scared of losing control through hallucinogenics. Yeah, exactly. But I don't want to lose control of my vision either. I mean, funnily, I'm a lifelong binge drinker, so that is a bit of losing control.
Yeah, I'm doing it right now.
Well, not binging.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you are. I'm not. I've just got the one beer in the house. I don't really drink at home usually. If I'm on a pod, I like to have a pint though.
Oh yeah.
Feels right.
Yeah.
In fact, it doesn't. Like, I'm actually quite confident anyway, but the problem is it makes me forget stuff. Even if it's just one pint, I'll often be like, and it'll just go. But yeah,
this is it. Like, I thought for years that I was always thinking of the best bars when I was pissed and then forgetting them instantly. And then I got into the habit of writing them down. It turns out most of those bars were shite.
Well, shit. I do the thing. I don't know if you ever get given bars in your sleep or in your like about to wake up dream phase.
Yeah.
I'm like, write that shit down, man. And then later in the day, I'm like, fucking shit. It's like not a good bar. Yeah, it's quite disappointing. But in my half awake state, I think I've like got a gem that my brain has delivered me.
Yeah, the other thing I've done when I've done that is like fucking. I'll wake up and think, oh, I thought of the most amazing bar, and I've thought of someone else's bar.
Oh no! Oh, I live in fear of that as well.
Yeah,
like I live in fear of like absorbing something and regurgitating it by mistake. I'm sure we all do it, but in a bad way.
It definitely happens. Like fucking if you've been writing and rapping for long enough, you can fucking recognize when someone's actually stolen something, or when someone's like thought of the same idea, or when someone's heard it and forgot they've heard it. They're three different things, and you can tell.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, you can tell when someone imitates. But also even things like someone will play a song maybe on their story on Instagram, right? And it's like a fairly niche song, but then you might think to use it for something like 2 months later and just totally forgotten the reason it cropped up back in your memory is because you didn't hear it that long ago from someone else. And that is almost a form of imitation too. Or even referencing a film someone else referenced, and then you reference it in a conversation because you saw them. And it's not really copying. It's just like how the mind works. But it's a grey area, isn't it? Like when it tips into like, okay, you're regurgitating me too much.
It's a problem with rap because like fucking like rap's the fucking area where like fucking biting is the cardinal sin. Like fucking Oasis can like fucking just play the same instrumental the Beatles played and it's not a problem. Like but like in rap it can be it's a fucking like a fucking punishable crime if you use the same bit of wordplay, like, and a lot of the time you've thought of the same bit of wordplay or the same like really good multi because it's a really good one, and you spend a lot of time thinking of really good things, and then ready to go, yes, that's really good. Someone else has had that idea.
Yeah, definitely, and you have to try not to watch people too hard. When I say that, I mean don't watch any one person too hard. You're going to end up copying them. my mistake. Like, it's just common sense. Or like if you're obsessed with one sound, I don't know. Like it's cringeworthy as well. It's not just, oh, you bit me. It's like it makes me like internally cringe when I hear another rapper and I can just tell they're trying to embody this other rapper they like. And that happens naturally sometimes.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I catch myself embodying Skinny Man. I'm like, oh, that's a proper Skinny Man style delivery or something. And other people don't really notice maybe.
Yeah.
But I know I've done it. But it's not the same as like begging it, I guess, is what I mean.
Apparently that happens to comedians as well. Like,
God, really?
Like fucking like I speak to some of my mates who do stand up and that, like, and they say like fucking you the average fan would never watch it, but sometimes if like you've like watched someone special a couple of times, you'll start picking up a little bit of their cadence and their way of like dropping the punch or something.
Yeah, that makes like, a lot of sense.
But all the other comedians will fucking clock onto it.
Oh, that's horrible. It makes sense, man. Like I'm a little bit of an imitator naturally. Like if I have a partner, I'm going to pick up all their little things. Like, whereas some people are much less prone to doing that. Like they really hold on to their own, accent and their own like little things, and they just don't change. I'm quite changeable, so I'm always scared I'm doing it because I like imitating people too. Yeah. Sometimes I imitate people for fun.
Like I find like if I'm watching a lot of Peep Show or something, my internal monologue will start being like that.
I turn into Mark.
My internal monologue will be sentences instead of normal chaos.
Yeah, I totally feel like I'm Mark sometimes. Yeah. But I suppose what's so good about Peep Show is that Mark does the internal monologue so well. Like stupid things like he's making one piece of white toast and one piece of brown toast. He's like, brown for dinner, white for dessert. It's like a stupid thing that I would think in my head as well. Yeah, that happens to me too. And I start thinking I'm them. I mean, it's a bit like what I did, I guess, as a kid. Start thinking you're that person a little bit.
That's it. It fucking like carries through. I'll just do a last couple off these lists.
Yeah.
Someone's mentioned Erie, Indiana, which I used to love.
Oh yeah, that's good. Yeah. I like them little short stories.
And the last comment is from the only person who was replying from the original Return to Oz from. It's from Tony D.
Oh yeah.
And he says Zelda from fucking Terrorhawks.
Terrorhawks? I don't even know what that is.
That was like a Thunderbirds kind of thing, when they had those like puppet shows.
Okay.
Those like sci-fi shows that were all puppets.
Yeah.
Like there was one called Terrorhawks, and it did have a freaky thing called Zelda in it. But like the name Zelda has got overtaken for me by when I saw Pet Sematary.
Oh, Pet Sematary, man. Kids dying as well. Horrible.
Yeah.
What did you think of the new one?
I didn't really rate it, but I thought there was some cool stuff in it.
I quite liked it. I definitely didn't think it was as good as the first one, but I did think it was good. Like it was good, and I did find like some of the end scenes quite they sold me on the horror aspect of it.
Yeah,
it was all right. I mean, considering a lot of like Candyman just wasn't even couldn't hold what do you call it? Hold a candle, hold a flame.
Yeah,
couldn't even vaguely come, because I watched just to make sure. I watched Candyman again after the new one with my kid, and we were so much fun.
Yeah,
I
didn't. I didn't rate the new Candyman it's something I almost never say about fucking films, but I think like the new Candyman could have stood to be longer because they were doing a lot of social commentary. And like the social commentary stuff was good, but it meant that they tried to stick all the horror.
Yeah,
they tried to do all the horror in the last 10 minutes, and I needed a bit more time to sit with the horror.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that because it started out, especially with the title sequence, the credits,
Yeah.
with the like panning through that. I was like, "Ooh, this is amazing!" And then like I was like, "Oh, I like this gentrification, theme." But then it just doesn't even have an ounce of the charm. Like Candyman feels real, like it feels more real than that.
Because but if they had a bit more time to sit with the horror, then it would have been good because like everything that happened, everything they did in it was good, but it just didn't have enough of the extra stuff that I needed as well to make it a good film. I like the fact that like everything about the new Candyman film is like they said like everything's going to be the opposite of the first one. Like even the the titles of the original like Candyman is like a helicopter view of like the top of Chicago, like looking down on it. And the title for the new one is like you're there looking up at it.
Yeah.
It's like completely the opposite.
I didn't make that connection.
Yeah, and flipping like the first one sort of like revolves around this woman who sort of like fetishizes this working class community that she doesn't understand, and the new one's about this guy who's an artist who has a background there, and flipping there's a different kind of disconnect there. I think everything they were doing in it was good.
Yeah, like theoretically was a really good way.
Horror film. Yeah. You needed the horror there as well.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Yeah. And I don't know, something about Candyman as well didn't quite sell it to me as well. It's such a funny,
that's the thing. Like the original Candyman, Tony Todd.
Yeah, I love
with his voice and that gravitas.
But there's also a really funny campness to the original Candyman. Like something really camp and like amusing about him, but he's still kind of terrifying.
Yeah.
I guess it's quite hard to replace maybe, but I can't remember when I first saw Candyman actually.
That was a big one. Like Candyman was a big like have you seen this? The first one in the playgrounds would be your poltergeist and things, and particularly like Ghost Watch.
But again, Candyman, I felt sorry for him quite a lot.
Yeah,
his backstory did definitely get my sympathy as a kid.
Yeah, and that's
Chucky as well. Chucky got banned, didn't it? Child's Play, sorry. Everyone used to call it Chucky. It wasn't called Chucky. But yeah, Child's Play.
Child's Play 3, fucking like, I think it's the most fascinating franchise, the Chucky franchise, because
I bloody remember it, man.
Well, it's still going today. They still got the TV show, innit?
I know. Yeah. Is it good?
It is really good. And it's sort of like it's carried through, like, because like every like Chucky thing, like apart from like the dodgy remake, fucking every Chucky thing, like from like the first film in the 80s to like the TV show that there's a new season 3's coming out this year. It's all been like written by like one guy. It's like Don Mancini.
Okay, I definitely know that name.
Yeah, and like, because like, what's it called? He's a gay dude, and like, when he started off doing his films, like, you know, there was like, you know, the sort of like subtext to him, and like, you know, even like the whole thing about like Child's Play is like, you know, it's like being stuck in a body you don't understand and all that.
Right. Okay.
And it was this like kind of like subtext that you couldn't really say out loud, but he wasn't even intending to put that subtext in, but it was just because of how he grew up. And then you get on to like the ones in the like the like the 2000s. You do Seed of Chucky, where he like Chucky's got a fucking son, and the son is like flipping like gender fluid and all that. To like what he's done in the TV series now, where he's just like fucking like the main character is like a gay teenager, and he's like put in like some stories that were like that are like actually like based on his story as his first kiss as a kid, like.
Okay.
And like
That's
so
really
he can
interesting.
now like actually put in as text like flipping like the stuff that he had to put in as subtext because he couldn't say it out loud then. So it's quite fascinating to follow the series through like that.
Yeah. It is, and I really relate to doing that as an artist, which I'm sure it's not original, but I definitely use my music to express things in a exaggerated or humorous way that are definitely expressing insecurities and things that I wouldn't spell out and I wouldn't say them literally, you know. And again, like, I'm not a storyteller rapper. I don't want to tell you exactly what it is, so I'm gonna take the piss, or I'm gonna do a really exaggerated version of an insecure person in this way or whatever. So I like that in art, that you kind of read between the lines or get a little bit of someone's secret that they're not necessarily ever going to tell you.
Like, do you know what, if you want a little thing to be cracking on with, like, watch all the Chucky films.
Okay.
And then,
all right. Noted.
And then like maybe get onto the series and like, because they've all come out in a different era. You've got like the 80s ones, you've got the 90s ones, then you've got the end of the 90s, start of the 2000s ones where they're coming back and taking the piss. And then you've got the like, fucking we're after Saw and Hostel now, so we're going back dark again.
Is that a bit like Cobra Kai? I really like Cobra Kai for that reason. It was like they knew they couldn't bring karate. They couldn't do a Karate Kid like. I don't know if you've seen it, but it is a bit like it doesn't take itself very seriously. You know, Karate Kid obviously did, but it is cheesy as fuck, man. So like the way they did the series,
well, they tried to, didn't
really
they? They did like a Jaden Smith one with Jackie Chan.
Ah, yeah, fuck that. I mean, not that it's shit. Like I've got no time for remakes of classics. Like most of the time, I think I've seen it, but it's like Annie. It's like, yeah, I mean, it's watchable, but I could just watch the classic one. I do not see the point unless you're going to make it different in an exceptionally great way. I just kind of annoys me.
Fuck it. That's an interesting one, but I'll tell you what, we'll wrap it right back round to the start. The very first thing we mentioned, and of course, Chucky's voice is my favourite actor of all time, Brad Dourif, who's in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Oh, boom. Wow. No way. Who is he? Who's Brad? Right. Sorry, I've got IMDb here on another tab.
Yeah.
Brad
Dourif, Dourif.
He's your favourite actor?
Yeah.
Wow. That's so funny that he's the voice actor for that, and he's in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, okay. Wow.
And he's in some bangers like fucking now you've got that name in your head, you'll suddenly find out he's in like loads of things that you like, but he is the guy.
Okay, like The Exorcist, Free. Right, okay. Sorry, and I'm going to get distracted. This is what I should be right. Well, okay.
Well, we passed the hour mark anyway, so I normally like to wrap things up around now.
Yeah.
But we'll bring it back before we lock things down. Let people know the socials and where people can get you at you and check your music.
So it's Jaz Kahina, it's written on the screen. And basically that's my handle for all the socials. I use Instagram quite a lot. I use Twitter sporadically, mostly for kind of nonsense. That's the kind of thing you like.
Yeah.
YouTube, same handle. But I'm going to be releasing a project. I'm not sure exactly when, but I'm quite excited about my next single. So yeah, I'm active.
Yeah, I'm a massive fan of your music. Your videos are fucking brilliant. There's a lot of creativity. If you fuck with the KSC podcast, you're going to find something you like, particularly in them videos. And you're a fucking excellent follow on Twitter.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I try not to be too irritating.
You are fucking great. You haven't had an irritating second in your
life. You
life.
too, actually. You too. You're actually, a lot of people are quite annoying. But yeah, when people stick to the interesting stuff or the funny stuff, that's generally how Twitter works well, I reckon.
You're not wrong. That is 100% facts.
Yeah.
Well, we'll wrap it up there. This has been the KSC Podcast. Thank you so much to Jaz Kahina.
Thank you, Kinell, for having me.
Peace.
See ya.